One, two, three, four.
Welcome into another episode of the Talkin G-MAC podcast, and I'd like to welcome in Kyle Woods, a senior from the Walsh cross country team. Kyle, thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to chat with us today, and congratulations on a G-MAC cross country title that you guys were able to bring back on Saturday.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. It's good to be here.
Yeah, well, 7th GMAC title for the Walsh cross country, the men's cross country team. After maybe a couple of years of a hiatus, there was like a 5-year run for the Cavs in there for a little bit. It's been since 2023 that you guys were able to bring back that title to North Canton. What was Saturday like? What's the feeling like? Knowing that you were able to accomplish winning a GMAC title once again, and what's it been like since?
I mean, you really can't beat that feeling. You go in with a goal. We had pretty clear plans to go in and get done what we needed to get done, and it's just about putting it together on the day. Everybody had a great day, and that feeling's just not quite matchable. So since then, energy's been high. We just kind of been riding that wave. Looking forward to the postseason.
Well, in talking about that little bit of a hiatus, I did say it had been since 2023 since you guys had been able to win a GMAC title because there was such dominance with the Walsh men's cross country program for such a time, especially here in the Great Midwest. What was it like to finally get back one under your belt and kind of get back to the top?
Last year was a little difficult. We dealt with some injuries and some losses. Everybody goes through a little bit of adversity, but the ability to overcome that, get back on top of things. I think honestly, it just kind of put a chip on our shoulder and gave us that motivation to really come strong through the summer and be there when it mattered the most this year.
Well, when I look at the results from Saturday, you guys had quite a pack there in the middle. You had some guys finish fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth, all first team, all conference honorees, yourself included in that. I know folks who are familiar with cross country and maybe distance running have maybe familiar with kind of the pack running mentality and trying to stay together. What was you all's goal going into this race on Saturday? And how special was it to kind of finish with those guys right there, kind of in the middle, which really set you guys up to get that first place finish and have those guys finish so high in the top 10?
That's kind of what we've been working towards all year. I mean, that's what we do in practice. We run together as a pack. David, Spiro, Theo, and I just really put it together on the day. We trust in Zico's training. He's always had us ready at the right time. It's something that we can just kind of sit back and believe in. We've done the work. We knew that already. We just kind of had to trust the strength. Up until now, it has been one of those things where we just couldn't put it all together at the same time. And GMAC was that perfect opportunity. Obviously, the competition's going to be fierce. It always has been on the individual side as well as the teams. So we respect our competition. We understand what we're going up against, and we know that we've got to put it all on the line. And things just worked out really well for us. I'm really proud of the guys. And that's just, that's exactly what we came and planned to do. And then we were just waiting on the 5 to come in, which obviously we gave a decent enough buffer for. So
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about Midland. I know it turned out to be a beautiful day, what we like to call good running weather. But I know that they had some rain and there were some parts of the course that were in the woods. What was this course like for you guys? And challenge wise, how do you hope that it prepares you all for what's to come moving forward?
actually a pretty big point. We got to preview the course the day before, like we usually do, and they had some rain, and so the director of the meet decided that they were going to close off the wooded section. So we couldn't necessarily preview that ahead of time because they didn't want it to get too messed up, as it was pretty muddy back there from what we'd heard. And so we got the opportunity to walk it, but it's not the same necessarily. So just really getting out there. It's previewing the grass area was was at least decent enough. And then on the day, like you said, it was perfect weather. Sun was out, pretty little to no wind. And we just got out after it, and it was just so much fun out there. I was telling my guys, I said, it's been a while since I've had that much fun out on the course. The course is pretty flat, so we knew it was going to run fast. But the muddy sections in the woods didn't really slow us down all that much. It was just like we kind of shot out of a rocket every time we got back into the wood section, and you're just weaving through the trees and staying attached. It was kind of like a dirt track back there. It was really sweet.
You were able to, and a group of your guys in that pack were able to garner first team all conference honors individually. And I know we talk about this a lot when we talk about some of our individual sports that have team scores, right? It is an individual sport per se, but you are running alongside your teammates, and collectively you all receive a team score for that. What is that mentality like? And for you personally, what was Saturday like? To finish as high as you did and to receive all conference honors.
I mean, honestly, unbelievable. Coming in freshman year, that's not really where I expected I'd be by my fourth year. I knew that the work, was always going to be there. The motivation to get better and, matter for the team, score in the big moments was always something that I'd kind of dreamed of. It's just really awesome that got to come through on the one day. But I've always kind of felt that way. Something like that would come along because I really do just kind of trust in the training. Mizuko's been doing it really well for us for a long time. I mean, there's a reason we have 7 GMAC championships. He just knows how to build it, peak everybody at the right time. As for my guys, they're the best. They're super motivating. The energy's always high. Practice is super easy. It's fun to be there. It makes you want to show up for them. And it's just the love out there. Every one of us cares for each other so much that you don't want to let each other down. So as much as the individual accolades are cool, honestly, the biggest thing that I was feeling out there is as I wanted to give in or let up, knowing that my guys out there were depending on me to count for them. Um, and that's something that you don't really feel in most other sports that I've participated in. Cross country is pretty set apart in that aspect. So just going out there and being able to put it on and perform for my boys is I don't know, it's just something special. So I think everyone was kind of on the same page that day.
Well, as you turn the page, you get to go into the regional meet as GMAC champs. That regional taking place November 8th, so a week or so, a couple weeks, in
Mhm.
Kenosha, Wisconsin. Um, how do you use these next couple of weeks to prepare for that? And what are some of the conversations that you all have been having post GMAX to get yourselves prepared and ready to hopefully have a great showing there, to hopefully set yourselves up to have the opportunity to compete at nationals?
Making nationals was the goal all along. Obviously, winning the conference meet was step one. We needed to be there and ready to roll when postseason came around. We're going to see a lot of those same teams, a lot of those really competitive teams and individuals in 2 weeks. We just got to get ready to throw down. We had a pretty flat, fast course on Saturday, but we expected to be a little bit rougher, even moving up to the 10K over at Kenosha. So that's going to be something we're going to have to hunker down for, but I think that's something we're prepared for too. We're based around some pretty good strength. As far as uh, the game plan going forward, we're just going to take it by ear, just kind of trust in what coach has laid out for us. We had a good workout this morning, and the next 2 weeks are just kind of going to unfold one day at a time. Um, but I think we're in a really good spot right now as far as being prepared for this. I don't think there's anything we have to do that's any extra. We just kind of have to repeat what we did on Saturday and maybe add a little bit of spice on top of that. So
You've talked a lot about Coach Mazzico and his training and his plan and what he's kind of meant to the program at Walsh. What has he meant to you and maybe this team as the leader of the Walsh cross country program? Um, and the ability that he's been able to take so many teams to the top of the GMAC, like you mentioned.
as a coach, everyone's got a lot of love for him over here. He's a great character, and there's a lot it's easy to rally behind someone that um, you feel cares for you. You reciprocate that feeling, and that's something that makes it a lot easier on us to want to stand behind him and put our bodies on the line for him. As for me individually, he's just been a super great connection. He coached at the high school I went to before I got there, and so my transition and training was pretty similar. They kind of used a basic outline of what we did there, and so coming into the program, I had an idea of what that looked like already, but having that high school connection was kind of cool. I got to come in from a different experience there. But as I've matured and been through this experience, just from freshman to senior year, my relationship with Maziko has grown. It's just awesome that we get to go into practice and there's someone there that you could joke around with, and then when it's time to get serious, you can get serious with. And obviously, he's done a fantastic job developing everybody around me and myself included. I wouldn't be even close to where I am now without his guidance and just kind of blindly following sometimes. But he gives us some opportunities to give our own input, make some changes where needed. He's very receptive to what we have to say, and I think that's part of the relationship is a little bit of give and take, some good communication. And I mean, there's a reason he's coach of the year on the men's or the women's side almost every year, because he does a fantastic job with this program.
Well, Kyle, as we get ready to wrap up, I know you mentioned the opportunity to compete at nationals, and I think for every cross country program, that is likely at the upper echelon of their list of things that they would like to achieve. But what's it going to take for this Walsh men's team to find themselves at nationals at the end of the year?
It's gonna be a good effort. We're gonna have to put everything out there on the line. Obviously, we missed out last year, and it was the first year in a streak of years that we didn't get to go. So well, I know we're all itching to get back there. There's that same feeling of missing GMAC champs last year. There's that chip. We all want it real bad. And like I said, we're coming on at the right time, so I think it's all there. We're just gonna have to show out on the day. There's some really good teams, obviously up top, um, and then there's a lot of really competitive teams that are gonna mix it up anywhere through that 3, 4, 5, 6. So um, just have to put bodies in front of a lot of teams' packs and see where it goes. I think it's pretty hard to predict what it's going to be like on the day sitting here now, but I know we're going to have to get to it and it's going to have to hurt a little bit. But I think we're pretty well prepped for that.
Well, Kyle, we certainly appreciate your time today, and congratulations once again on all conference honors for yourself individually, and of course bringing another GMAC title back to North Canton. I'm sure is nice to put up in the trophy case for everyone to see. But best of luck in a couple weeks as you guys head to Kenosha, and we'll of course be rooting for as many GMAC teams and individuals that can make it to nationals for us.
Welcome to the Great Midwest Athletic Conference, where greatness is achieved from heart-stopping moments to incredible teamwork and unyielding determination. This is more than a conference. It's a community of excellence where academic success meets athletic prowess and future leaders are forged. The Great Midwest Athletic Conference. Building character through competition.
We were able to hand out 2 GMAC trophies this weekend. On the other side, the women's cross country title going to the Cedarville women. And we're excited to be joined now by Aubrey Hayes, a senior on that team. Aubrey, thanks for joining us today and congratulations on another GMAC title.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
Well, what a performance you all were able to put together on Saturday. I know the favorite, obviously, going in because of the season that you all have been able to have. But I want to run through a couple of stats just to kind of give everybody the lay of the land. So you had 5 runners finish in the top 8. You had 7 runners finish in the top 16, and 8 runners in the top 20. So dominant would be the word that I would use. But what did Saturday feel like for you guys, and what's it been like to bring back another GMAC title to Cedarville?
Yeah, I think a lot of Saturday was thinking back to last year on how, we lost that title and just thinking about how we kind of came into the race last year thinking we had it all under control. And obviously, I don't think we came in with the right mindset and the right foot forward. So this year, we really wanted to make sure that we had that corrected and that we just were able to like trust our teammates, trust ourselves, and do everything we could to have the best performance we could. So yeah, even with the rankings and the stats, we knew we had to make sure we gave it our all. Just because just after last year, we didn't want anything to be up to chance. So yeah.
Certainly a pedigree of runners and success that have come through on the women's side, especially at Cedarville. It's your ninth GMAC title, which means you've won more GMAC titles than you haven't won in the history of our event. So certainly, I think something that you all hang your hat on. You've been a part of some of those squads. What makes this squad different or special, or what kind of sets them apart, and what's maybe something we don't know about this group of runners that we can't see on paper, right? We see where you finished and we know your times, but what is about this team that makes them so successful?
Yeah, I think we have a lot of upperclassmen. I mean, if you look at our top seven, a lot of them are seniors or fifth years. And I think that brings just a really high level of maturity in racing, which I think has been a huge blessing in how we as a team are able to come to a meet and be prepared and be ready. And I also just think personality wise, we are all ready to fight. And I think because for a lot of us, this is our last year, we're ready to give it our all and to do everything we possibly can to, do the best we can moving forward. So I think that's really fueled us moving forward and trying to be as competitive as possible. Like we know that talent wise we're there, but we want to make sure mentally we're there. And I think having that experience of, training and competing collegiately for the past 3-4 years has really helped our group to kind of be where we are now. And I mean, you can just see in the depth of our runners and how we're all super close. Being able to work on that chemistry and synergy together has been huge for our team. In workouts, we're very close together, which helps a lot. And it helps just simulate races. And so when we go into a race, you don't know where other girls are going to be. You don't know what the competition is going to look like, how the first mile is going to start like. But because we have such a great pack of girls, we can kind of trust on our teammates and know that we're going to have 2 or 3 people with us that are going to be fighting and we'll be at a certain point. So I think that really helps as well and contributes to some of our successes this season. So.
I want to ask you to kind of expound upon, you talked about the mentality, you talked about seeing the girls around you. When people think of cross country, I think they think of an individual sport, and while it is, you are running your race. All of that culminates in a team score, and it's all about maybe trying to get that girl in front of you, or doing what you can to set your teammates up for success as well, depending on where they all are. What does race day look like? Maybe take me back to Saturday. What were some of the conversations about getting you all right mentally, and how do you go into a big race like this? Kind of caring for one another, knowing that someone may not have their day, right? And then that means that somebody else has to kind of step up. And it seems like, for the majority of it, you all kind of did your part to put you all in the best position to come out on top.
Yeah, well, something that happened that weekend was one of our top runners was sick. And so that was a big, that was a hard thing for us as a team to look at and go, okay, like she needs to take this race off so she can provide like the best for her own health as well as, thinking about our team in the future. And so for us, hearing that news on Friday night was okay, like that's going to change a little bit of how we mentally go into this race. But I think as a team, we are just so competitive. And I think we just really knew that, okay, like having one of our top runners not being able to be on the starting line with us is going to be really tough. But at least for me, and I think for a lot of girls in our top seven, it was like, this is time for us to step up. And so I think that really helped drive us. And I think that was a part of our conversations as well was, all right, this is not ideal, but it's also part of the circumstances of racing. And, like you said, like sometimes you get in a race and a girl just doesn't feel good. And so I think we all like to keep that in mind, and that's why we really love pack running as much as possible because we know if someone's starting to drop back, we're like, "Hey, come back with us." Or we know, "Okay, like I feel better for today, so I'm going to push and go forward." So a lot of that morning, I think, was just focusing on individually, we have to fight for every spot possible because we honestly didn't know where girls were going to be. We knew we had a strong team, but we honestly hadn't really raced against a lot of our conference teams this season. So we didn't exactly know where we would be individually, if girls would be by us. And so I think we all went in thinking this could be something we lose. And I think that was honestly helpful for me because it helped me go, I don't want to lose. Like I want to fight for my team. And so I think we went out strong and we didn't want to go out with any regrets or any hesitations, especially knowing we didn't have one of our top girls because we knew we'd have to get every single spot, every single second. And thankfully it worked out great and we were able to get that fine. But yeah, I think it helped just remind us that we can't ever be, just like reluctant or kind of sit into our position. Cause I think last year we came in thinking we kind of had it. And, when you're not fighting for it, you're not gonna get it. So I think we came in fighting and we knew it could be a loss. And so we didn't want that to happen. So we fought for it. Yeah.
When you look back, I've yet to mention that you all have sat at fifth in the national poll for the last couple of weeks, and I think that maybe puts a target on your back a little bit, coming in as maybe the favorite. But as you kind of look at the regular season up to this point, I know you guys won a pretty big race down at UAH, which was kind of your last regular season meet before you got ready for GMAX. What kind of confidence? And I know maybe you learned a lot from not being able to take that trophy home last year, but what kind of confidence did you come into to this race because of some of the success that you all had seen in previous races throughout the regular season?
Yeah, I think, starting with our All Ohio meet, we had some of the fastest times we've kind of ever had. A lot of us had, gotten a lot faster than we had last year from that starting race, which I think was a huge confidence booster to know we were even starting a lot faster. And I think from that point, we saw how small our gap was from our one to our five, from our one to our seven. And so I think that first made us go, "Oh, wow, like, this could be something great." And then, we went to Louisville, and that was a really hard race because it's super fast, and you're kinda just going out and going for it, but it taught us that we could go out really, really fast and hold it fine. Like, you kinda have to I think like our coach really wants to get us to so many different meets and in a lot of different race day situations so that we figure out our strengths and weaknesses. And, for our weaknesses, we make them better. In the past, our team has not done well at Louisville. Like we won't go out fast enough. And it really hurts us. Like we love consistency. Our team loves even splits. Which is really great because we love consistency, but that's not always able to happen, and so I think that was a great marker for us to say, "Okay, like, we can run a super fast first mile and still finish really well." And then at Huntsville, we had some I guess, some distance between different teams. Like, we had, like, the top group, and then a lot of our other top 5 runners we were kinda by ourselves, like, and so getting spread out, I think, was hard, but I think it really helped us going into conference because with smaller meets, you don't know where you're going to be. You don't know if your teammates are going to be right next to you. You don't know if you're going to have a big pack. At Louisville, there were so many girls around you. You know, you're always going to have someone around you. But at Huntsville, there was a point when it was just me and my teammate Hannah, and we were just kind of leading our little group, and there was, the rest of our teammates were kind of scattered out. So you have to just like be ready mentally to figure out where you're going to be. And I think that really helped prepare us for conference because like the whole time I was like, oh, I just really hope I'm not by myself. Like, I really hope I'm not in no man's land. And, halfway through the race, I was by myself. So, the whole pretty much last mile and a half, I kind of ran it entirely by myself. And that was not ideal, but it's also like, all right, like this is what we've prepared for. And Huntsville was like a great race to be more spread out and to work mentally on how do I keep pace, even if I don't have girls around me. And so I think our coach just strategically wants to pick all of these different races to make sure we're prepared for as much as we can going into our postseason.
Well, talking about the course on Saturday, I know not able to preview the whole thing on Friday night because they had a lot of rain in Midland. Didn't want to make it a muddy course for you guys on Saturday. What challenges did that bring? And I know that course was fairly flat, so probably ran a fairly fast as well. But what can you take away from what you learned maybe running that course in Midland as you get ready for regionals in Kenosha?
Yeah, I think one of the challenges you have when you have a course that's in the woods is your GPS, probably won't work correctly, and you might not always be able to see the field in front of you. We were able to go to Kenosha my freshman year, and so knowing that there is some of that woodsiness and there's just going to be points on the course that we know we're not maybe necessarily going to see a bunch of girls around us or know where the next pack is, but having to mentally just push through that anyways. I think also just preparing to have maybe some routes, some turns, some corners, like I said, like we love to have consistent mile splits and being able to hit certain paces. And when you're going into the woods, into more of a rougher terrain, there were some spots in there that was pretty muddy. And we were like, okay, and we prepared for it. We had some longer spikes in and, we prepared the best we could. But it's also, I think, mentally knowing it might not be the most ideal conditions, but that's kind of cross country for you. So, we're not running track. So I think that helps us going into our next race at regionals of just knowing that conditions might not be the best. We don't know what the weather's going to be. We're really hoping it's not super cold, but, we could show up and it could be freezing. And so just trying to prepare for whatever we can. I mean, our coach preaches to us that we just need to be as prepared as possible. And he always has like this slogan of if you don't like, it's what I'm trying to think of what it is, but it's like, he says it all the time, so I should know it. But it's like, if you don't prepare, you're preparing to fail. And I think it's helpful to hear that because, you can regret not preparing enough, but if you prepare for whatever is possible, then you just kind of do whatever you can while you're doing the race. And so I think that helped us. I think knowing that we didn't really know what the wood section of the conference course was going to be like running wise was a difficulty, but we walked it, we talked through it, we tried to see what it might be like. And so, yeah, knowing we wouldn't be able to run on it was a difficulty and was a challenge, not knowing how tight those turns really are and how muddy it's really going to feel. But knowing that, okay, this is what we do know. How do we prepare for that? And I think it helps translate to race day. And I think, again, like having the experience and the maturity of racing on our team has really helped us maybe not freak out as much about those situations, and to try to stay calm and be like, all right, like everyone's in this situation, so like let's do the best we can.
You mentioned a little bit about regionals, and you have a couple of weeks before that regional meetup up in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Um, what do these next couple of weeks look like for you guys? What are the conversations that you're having, and how do you prepare yourself to have maybe even a better showing at regionals so that you really set yourself up for the opportunity to be in the best position with a spot at nationals?
Yeah, I think that's been a big part of this team is we've been planning for our last two races. I think last year we had some difficulties, and so we were wanting to pretty much be our best at conference and regionals. This year, we're thinking a little bit more long term. We really want to be competitive at nationals, but obviously it doesn't matter where the rankings are. Like, you're not promised a spot. But I think we really want to make sure we feel really strong and really confident at regionals. And I think we are thinking further past that. We're thinking about nationals and we're talking about nationals, but we're also remembering that that's not promised. And so I think it comes with a balance of, trying to figure out like where we're wanting to be physically and mentally for regionals to make sure we can get that spot to nationals, but also preparing to try to have our best race at nationals. I think that's a hard balance, especially like, this year we're possibly going to have the best finish. That's our goal, is to have the best finish at nationals that we can. But, like I said, like we know that's not promised to even make it. And so we're planning for nationals and we're getting ready for nationals, but we also know we need to show up at regionals, and that's not going to be an easy race. And so I think we're using it as an opportunity to get to know the course. I think that's a big part of it. I mean, it's a bit of an advantage that we get of being able to race on the nationals course for, a regional race. Um, and I think we're also just trying to prepare mentally to make sure that, we're not going to be burnt out by the end of the season, but also being prepared, and we want to give as close to our best as possible at regionals because we know we're going to have to fight for that spot, and we know we're going to have teams, fighting for that spot because, we've been at the last year, we were at the end where we were fighting for that third spot. Like we knew it was not promised, especially after our conference loss. So we know how much teams want to get to nationals, and that can be pretty powerful, but we just want to make sure that we're one of those teams. We're one of those teams that mentally we're fighting for every single spot just like we did at conference. So yeah, I think that's part of our mindset, and trying to stay calm. I think that's also a big part is trying to stay calm and trying to stay present. And I think that's helped us a lot.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned it. For our listeners and viewers who don't know, yes, the national race will be at the same course that the Midwest region will be. So our men's and women's teams and some of the other Midwest region teams might have a little bit of an advantage going into nationals. But that being said, I think you mentioned gunning for those spots. Knowing that you all have stayed where you have been ranked nationally the last few weeks, does that change your preparation at all, knowing that there are going to be teams that are trying to find the Cedarville girls on the course and get in front of them because they know you all are maybe one of the teams to beat up there in Kenosha in a couple weeks?
Yeah, I think we've had that pressure before, I think in the past couple years. But I think it's still sometimes a surprise to us to to think we're one of those teams people are gunning for. Um, I think it really helps just to remember. I think for us as a team, we really don't. I mean, it's hard to say this, but I just look at my teammates and there's just so much humility, and so it's I think really helpful because I don't think we even necessarily realize how much people are fighting to take our spots, because we're like, we're happy to be here. And of course, we're in very, very competitive. But I think it helps just, I guess, seeing the different personalities of our team and knowing to the core of our team that we know no matter what happens, like, we're doing our absolute best, and we're training as hard as we can. But, on race day, when we're lining up at that line, a lot of times we have these bright yellow jerseys on, and we're like, okay, like, this is easy for someone to point out, but I think it also helps us point each other out. And so we try to focus on that. Okay, where's the next Cedarville girl? Because we want to be closer to each other. How can we pack up? I think that's one of our biggest strengths right now is our packs and how close we are. And I think we're going to try to use that as much as we can. So where is the yellow? Let's pack up. Like, let's get as close together as possible. Like, let me get this next girl so that I'm closer to my teammate. And I think that really helps, because I think for our team, like, our team, just how we interact with each other is extremely important for us, how we compete. So we're very competitive people, but it never gets to a point where we're trying to take down one another, which I think is incredibly great. I was surprised to see that coming to college. I thought, man, all these girls are going to be trying to take this away from me, and we're going to be fighting for these spots. But we all genuinely want what's best for the team. And so I think that honestly just helps push us further in a more positive way. And I think that also sets our sights positively on how we're trying to compete, going forward. A big thing that I like to say to the team is, let's shoot for the high goals. And in my mindset, if we shoot for higher goals, even if we fall short a little bit, that's still going to be amazing. If we're looking back, sometimes I think we can get too focused on playing the defense. Although it is important to know which teams are gunning for you. We have that in our mind. We know going to regionals, which teams are going to be fighting for our spots. Even at conference, we hear things like, get the Cedarville girls, get the yellow, get the blue. And so we know that, we hear that, but I think it helps build our confidence because we know we're a competitive group, and we know we're fighting as a team. And I think looking to, okay, like, let's look forward and see how fast we can be and how competitive we can be. I think that helps pushes us more positively to look to, I guess, more of the offense, and keeping in mind the people who are going to be coming after us, but not getting so much in our head that I guess we look too far back and not focus so much on our own game plan.
Well, Aubrey, we certainly appreciate all of your insights today. I think it's been very encouraging to hear how a Cedarville women's cross country team and how you guys work together, and certainly what you guys were able to accomplish on Saturday. So congratulations once again on another GMAC title, and we're certainly looking forward to watching you and the rest of all of our GMAC members compete in a couple weeks in Kenosha, with, we hope, as many of you all headed to nationals afterwards as can happen for sure.
Well, thank you so much.
If you do want it.